All right, so it's time to put, what's it saying? My money where my mouth is. I'm always preaching that you don't need to be professional. If you don't know it, just try it, do what you know, and eventually you'll learn along the way. So I did it. Let me tell you what I mean. All right, so I know zero about flatheads. All that I know is that they were introduced in 1932, and originally they weren't really that well accepted, especially since the original block had some issues. However, in that time, hot rodding was about the four-banger, the four-cylinder that came in the Model A. And as those got hopped up and reached their peak performance, now you're going into the war, and after the war especially, I believe that the Flathead was kind of that engine that the American needed for the progression of going faster, having more horsepower that continued on hot rodding. Before that, the main block was multiple different pieces, multiple different casts. That made it very expensive, not only to assemble, but to maintain. Now, Henry and the good old Ford team figured out how to do it all in one cast, but also, in order to save some money, normally on motors today, you have a cylinder head, and the valves that control the exhaust and the intake, you have a rod that comes up, valves going down as the piston's going up and down. The valves are actually inside the block themselves. The camshaft still controls that, and it's just one flat piece of cylinder head, hence your flathead. Now, these were produced, I believe, from 32 to 53 or something like that, with so many iterations of the motor. Back then, they had casting numbers, but it was really just for manufacturing purposes, not to document the different types of blocks in the years. So figuring out exactly what engine you have is a little bit of the fun part. All right, so here's your original intake bolts. Just to be safe, I grabbed a little bit of a longer threaded bolt just because the engine kind of leveler that I have has a pretty thick bracket, and it looks like I'm only getting about 2 or 3 threads of engagement with these. So just to be safe, a little bit more thread engagement with a little bit longer bolts. Now, of course, after I bought the engine, I started researching a bunch of stuff, and like I said, it's a bit of a mystery exactly to what block it is, but one dead giveaway so far that I can find is that I actually have a raised intake surface. In reality, the actual casting of the block is sunken in, which supposedly is a dead giveaway that it's a 41 block. Something like that. Okay. There it is. Is that good enough? Yeah, I think that might be good. Now, as I'm unloading this, I'm thinking it's probably going to be best to just take the transmission off, leave it on the bed, then I could put my actual engine stand on the back. Now, as you can tell, these bolts are not original. They're way too clean. Again, that explains why this is likely a 39 transmission with the 41 engine. The history of motors, you never really know. But if you're out there and you're looking for a motor, whether it's a flathead, a small block, whatever it may be, there's always a few things you can do to help you gain some confidence that it's a good block. The first thing you should do is check the oil, make sure it doesn't have any coolant or water mixed with the oil. You can always take off the spark plugs, make sure those aren't blown out or super gunked up with oil. And lastly, what you should do is rotate the engine, either through the flywheel and a big flathead, maybe through the main crank. Now with this motor, I did none of that. Why? Because it was $300, it looks pretty clean, and this is me just trying to learn. So if it's a rotating motor, something I get going, that'd be a score. If it doesn't, ends up being blown up, so long as the block is salvageable, $300, still a pretty good price. So, cross your fingers for me. Alright, what's in here? Oh, I do see a spring. I'm gonna take off this plate. It looks like there's a spring back there. Now, if you're like me and know nothing about flatheads, one person I'll recommend is Zach from Wired Customs. So far, everything that I know about flatheads has been from him and his YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, there's the first bad sign, just water coming out of there. Uh-oh, it's okay. I can tell you by that, what is that, wasp nest, beehive? It has not ran in quite some time. That feels pretty good last time. Oh, there we go. It's like a puzzle. Now, do these things sketch anybody else out as much as they sketch me out? I swear to God, it seems like a lot of leverage, especially for this old freaking iron piece of steel. One thing I did notice about this is that it's obviously very clean, and that's because I believe it's been like sandblasted or bee blasted. Get a close-up in here, you can actually see some sand, and I've noticed it in other areas as well. Alright, so now it's time to clean up my mess, get this thing in the garage, ready for the next step. Come on, motor. Ta-da! Alright, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is take off these plugs. Now, the little tip is, taking off rusty parts. Sure, you can hit them with penetrating oil, things like that. It's alright, it helps. But one thing that I like to do is actually tighten it a little bit. Try to tighten it. When it moves, then loosen it, crack it a little bit back, and keep working it all the way until you actually start feeling it loosen up. And that should help break some of that rust. And once you get a little bit of confidence, then this one should be ready to come out. Kind of like when you're tapping things. You don't ever want to just cut in. Every once in a while, you need to do about a full turn back to clean up the threads. This one looks like it's ready to come out. Let's see what this one shows. So this one's actually not too bad. A little bit of corrosion at the top. Not blown out by any means. Maybe it's just been sitting for a while. Let's keep going. Alright, so this one's being a little bit stubborn. So I'm going to be patient, keep working with it, and see if she cooperates. It gets stuck right about there. Let's keep going, come on. Alright, it is coming out a little bit more each and every single time. I can tell by the writing on the socket. It's a good shoulder stretch. Ooh, it's crunchy. Let's see. Let's see. I think she's out. Threads and the spark plug look okay. Alright. Oddly enough, that's the best spark plug that's come out anyways. Warm. Like we had our first casualty. And this one indeed, it's not too bad. But definitely some rust there towards the bottom. That's what an extractor's for. Back in the LS swap days of my C10, the header bolts are known for being issues and problematic with those. And I tried all kinds of extractors, and it wasn't until Snap-on that I actually started having success. So, if you're like me and hate extractors, get yourself a Snap-on set. They're expensive, but pay themselves back. Dividends after your first try. Now the one kind of crappy thing about this is that it's likely going to put some crud into the piston, which I didn't necessarily want to do because I don't want to mess up that cylinder wall. But it looks like what's hitting right now is actually the, not the electrode, but the little thingamabob. So I'm just going to grab a flathead and force that down. So flathead, bending that down. There we go. Now, come on, Snap-on, don't let me down. Is too big of a hole. And this is the biggest extractor. And I can see the top of the piston there, which isn't going to allow me to put this down any further. Bummer! So now I think I have no choice but to remove the cylinder heads. I didn't want to do that because in case the motor was free and rotating, you know, this is a compression thing, so I don't want to mess with those head gaskets, but part of the fun. All right, well, here goes nothing. So far, these are coming off pretty easy. All right, so now that they're all cracked loose, impact time. Now that all those are off, give it a few generous smacks. When all else fails, grab a pry bar. That's already not the greatest of signs there. All right, you ready for the big unveil? That's maybe why that spark plug broke off. Here we go. Oh, righty. Look at that. She's a runner. She's good. Dial. So it's obvious it was not going to rotate on its own. So now I don't know whether to take off the other side, clean off this side. I feel like at some point all has to come apart anyway, so might as well just do that. Good old horsepower dust, that's all that is. Oh, here we go, here we go. Whatever I'm doing, it's liking it. There we go. See if that did it. Ready for the unveil. Okay. 3 hours later. There we go. Ta-da! Look at that. Solid. Whew. Fun fact, the time I'm recording this video, I have 904 subscribers. Everybody on YouTube will ask you to subscribe. And the way that it works is because once I get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, I can actually start monetizing this. So even if you don't have a YouTube account, you have a Gmail account, you got a Gmail account, you got a YouTube account, you got a YouTube account, you can subscribe, like, comment below. Thank you guys for supporting me, this channel, and all these fun builds. We'll see you in the next one.